What is happening? Happy Monday, y'all. Let's get a sip of this coffee. These drugs. So you know my crazy self always got something to say, something to think about, something to put into perspective. But as I always say, I don't speak on anything I haven't experienced, been through, or just have done in my life. And I just feel like I got to speak to my ladies, and I got to speak to my ladies because I'm not a man, so I can't speak on what I don't know. So, I'm speaking to ladies, but whoever it resonates with. And as much of a roller coaster as these past few months have been, my gosh, the amount of things that I have learned that balance out, whether it's just wanting to give up or dwell on the negative or just sit too far in your emotions, is it's kind of just beautiful. I always used to call it like a beautiful mess, and like it really is at times, just depending how you look at it. And I've been engaged 2 different times. Gave both them rings back. The second one, the thing that did it for me was when he said, well, you got the ring, that's what you wanted, and you still ain't happy. Well, you could have that back. Because number one, that tells me so much of what I needed to know. Cured any what ifs. Super great guy. Checked off 9 out of 10. It's just emotionally incompatible. But I said, why? If that's the stuff you're saying now, that tells me exactly what I need to know of how you feel. And we obviously ain't on the same page of apparently what I was trying to build and what the end goal was. So that was that. And I feel like you got so many people out here just in relationships and marriages just because, well, we've been together this amount of time, well, we got kids, this and that. Listen, one of the best second forms of birth control for me was I'm too good to be a baby mama. So I ain't having kids with nobody that I'm not married to, because having kids with somebody is almost forever. And you don't even know if you like that person to deal with them or be with them forever. That's my personal opinion, but then that's me. So for me, it's just like, what would 5 to 10 years of marriage look like? Nah, I'm good. No harm, no foul. The more and more I go through life, the more I make the brave decisions of, taking the risky path of accepting failure, things ending, maybe things I thought that were going to work out didn't work out. Like, I'm good with that. Like, I'm okay with that. I learned to be more and more okay with it. I'm not embarrassed. We all have our past. We all have our flaws. Nothing or nobody is perfect. The things from my past, even up until this day, they don't define me. And there's a beauty and peace in not caring what people think or have to say, because at the end of the day, why do I need to leave room for that in my world, in my space? You pay my bills, you satisfy me in ways and fulfilling me in ways that matter. Outside of that, I don't care what you got to say, what your opinion is, or what your outlook of me is. And I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but I got to keep it real. I'm not here for fake. I don't do fake. And I think a lot of the time people misunderstand, like, oh, you're so sensitive, or you're so... Listen, I'm the softest thug, but I would so much, 110% rather you tell me facts and truth than sit here and lie to my face because you think I can't handle it. Even if you think I can't handle it, please at least respect me enough to give me the opportunity to even make the decision of how I feel about it. And I feel like there's so much of that these days because, yes, we live in a sensitive world, but we need to stop sugarcoating the truth. If facts are facts, the truth is the truth. I'd rather you tell me, I'd rather share the truth, whether it's friends, family, relationship, whatever the case is. Be salty, be hurt over it. Don't talk to me for a week, for a month. But at the end of the day, at least I did my duty as, a good person. And the responsible thing, if you genuinely care or love somebody, and keep it real with them. Because at the end of the day, even if they're mad for a quick minute, it's probably most likely going to resonate with them, because most of the time you can't unlearn the truth that's actually the truth. So if it takes a week, a month, whatever the case may be, let it evolve in them however it needs to. If they're stubborn, if it takes them a while to like learn it, that's cool, but let them be. But at the end of the day, you have the peace of mind and you can sleep at night. I had this information, I had this wisdom, I had this knowledge, and I shared it with them. Whatever happens after that, that ain't your responsibility. And ain't nobody saying you got to be rude or be, harsh about it when you say it. Like, no, there's an art to saying things in a loving, kind way, even when it's a harsh truth. So for me, it's just like, I don't care how many decades you've been on this earth. You could still be dumb as rocks, immature, and not know a damn thing. At the end of the day, wisdom, knowledge, and the experience of things is really where that rich advice comes from, where you could be a person who genuinely shares information that is valid, that can be useful to somebody. What you are taught, what you are told, what you read out of a book, like that's cool, but there's not depth, there's not substance, because you probably haven't even been through it. So how can you speak so passionately on a topic that you haven't even experienced or been through? And it's no disrespect to anybody who got titles at the end of their name or whatever the case may be, or however much knowledge you have learned and maybe accumulated out of the time. But that's why I'm not easily impressed. I'm not intimidated by those things, because at the end of the day, I'm still 5 classes away from an associate's, but all of the things I'm able to do is from self-teaching, experiencing, just diving into things and figuring out how things work, figuring out what works, what doesn't work. That really is the best lessons in life, because you figure we didn't always have books, we didn't always have technology, we didn't always have colleges and institutions to teach us these things. What did they do back then? They straight up figured it out. They tried one way, that didn't work, they figured out another way until it did work, or until things made sense, or you just straight up went through things, experience them for yourself, and then you shared that knowledge with others, so they saved 2 or 3 steps, and then that person shares it, and then you're saving more steps, and now you become efficient in your process of whatever you're trying to accomplish. And I really don't think life has to be as complicated as we make it. I feel like after a certain age, you know what you need to know. After a certain age, if you got a brain that works, for example, the dating scene, as a man or a woman, as an adult, after you've experienced, I've had probably a good share of maybe 3 to 4 long-term serious relationships in my life. God, I'm ready for my husband, but that's a whole different story. But it's fine, whenever you feel the time is right and when I'm ready. And I don't regret any of my past experiences. I don't regret any of my past relationships. None of them were like, oh my God, terrible. And I've left each one better than I was, or learned something new that I didn't know before then. And when you start to have that mindset and perspective on things, life becomes sweeter. Life is more peaceful. Everything is not the end of the world, or like, oh my God, I'm never going to do this, that. So I just feel, speaking of my perspective and outlook, doesn't mean it's correct, and you can feel whatever way you want to feel about it. Ladies, or men, or gentlemen, stop saying in things or in relationships that your intuition has been ringing off the hook since very early on. Women, our intuition will tell us exactly what we should be feeling, and if we are not feeling it, but we choose to continuously ignore it and stay in these situations because they feel safe and comfortable. Stop being fearful to walk away from something that isn't what it needs to be to fulfill you in the way for longevity. And I'm just speaking on long-term relationships, marriages, whatever the case may be. Some people got different things going on, and if that's your cup of tea, that's your cup of tea. That's fine. But for us women, we have this built-in intuition that is literally better than your best friend. Because I'm also opposed to the female friends who, oh, he ain't this, he ain't that. And that's why you ain't got no man, but you're the one who are so opinionated on what he ain't this and that. Well, women, sometimes you got to take a step back and look at, well, maybe what are you not doing? What could you be doing? Because at the end of the day, men just aren't, the default negative or problem in these situations. I had to sit here and reflect on it and be like, okay, I love, I'm hopeless romantic, but at some point, I keep running into these same scenarios or these same situations. Why is that? So now you got to take a step back reflect on yourself. What could I be doing better or different? Because it's not to say that what you're doing is wrong either. My flaw is a lot of the time I know what I want to say. I just don't always know how to put it into words, and the balance of controlling the emotion so it's not coming out in a moment of anger, in an overly emotionally way or a disrespectful way. I can admit that. I ain't got nothing to hide. I'm crazy. Us women, we're crazy half the time. Let's just throw that out there. Like, it is what it is, especially if you're a woman with a passionate, strong culture. We are emotional. We are passionate. We love hard. We put it all in. That's what we come with. One of the best advice from my previous relationship was, the reality is there's always going to be cons. Nothing is going to be perfect. There's always going to be something that you don't like about a person. But the bigger picture of that is, how much are you willing to deal with, and how, the strength of your love for that person to surpass that and move past that as a couple. And that's very true, because nothing or nobody is perfect. I don't care how much you work on yourself, how much you discipline yourself. We all got flaws. We are all crazy. Some days you got hormones, being a woman. And like, another thing is, even when you get married, stop trying to perfect everything before you decide to take the step of getting married to somebody. Because when you get married, that's just a whole new chapter to about hundreds of more levels, because you're going to spend the rest of your life getting to know that person. No person is the same for 30, 40, 50 years. You're just not. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly changing. Like I said, hormones, emotions, tragedy, grief, sickness. Like, all these things happen outside of our control, but it's a matter of finding that person who is strong enough and compatible enough with you to ride that roller coaster through all those things, by your side, without shutting down or, not working towards it anymore or putting the guards up. So we put so many complications on what things should be. Yes, there's right and wrong, but there's no right and wrong way to go through things if they happen naturally, if they happen organically, when they happen in their time. So we have to stop, like, oh my God, if this happens, that means it's not meant to be. Like, no, if everything was perfect, it just flat out wouldn't be real. So for me, my thing is, if you're after the age of 30 and you are choosing to either get to know somebody or date somebody, it's probably about after maybe 3 dates, you know exactly what you need to know. And if it's worth your time, if it's worth you sitting there and investing energy and continuing to get to know that person. So what I don't understand is, there's so much levels to this. There's so much depth, but we're not even going to go that deep. The difficulty is, yes, men are supposed to be the high priest of the home. They're supposed to be the provider. Women submitting to a man, that's not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing. Like, we got to stop looking at it that way. Submitting to a man is a thing of elegance and respect. Knowing your value and self-worth, knowing what you bring to the table, but you ain't going to deal with just anything or settle for less. It's okay to have standards. It's okay to have expectations. Now, the women who out here with, well, if he ain't doing this, he ain't doing that. Well, that's why you're going to be single still at 40 and 50. And you're still going to be talking the same thing and not getting the point that the reason you don't have a man is because maybe your expectations are just a little bit too much above and beyond. Because if you have those expectations, are you reciprocating the same energy and effort in return? So what I don't understand is why there's a certain level of hesitation after a certain point. But the best comment that I seen on TikTok was, am I auditioning to be a wife? I've been wife material since day one. My problem is I don't know how to be a girlfriend. My mom and dad are still married to this day, 30 plus years after. So I know I'm a wife. Am I perfect? No. Do I have flaws? Do I still have things to learn? Absolutely. But what you're not going to make me do is, I don't need to beg for love because that's something I deserve. I don't need to wait because that's what I don't deserve. And if there are certain things that I require, which are very, very minimal, I deserve to require that. So my thing is just like, early on, you know what your intentions probably are. You know what your long-term goals are. Stop wasting people's time out here. And even if you are involved in something, if you genuinely know that it is not it, do not be afraid to walk away. Don't fear failure. Don't fear time, because at the end of the day, Those are both things that we can control. So why are we not controlling the things that we can control? And then the things outside of our control, we're having anxiety and stressing over them. Everything in life is balance. If you got two working eyes in your head, if you got common sense, we know what it is. We know where we're valued. We know where our time is worth. We know the things that we should be in and the things that we probably shouldn't be in. So stop settling for less. Stop being afraid of failure. Stop being afraid of something you invested so many years in or so much effort in has to come to an end. 75% and then 90% on one person's end, it doesn't work. And I'm not saying y'all both got to be at 100%, from day one, because that's not a reality. 100% comes over time. But it can't be this imbalance of, oh, okay, you got more guards up than me because you don't know where this is going and it's safe. And now when it ends, you're walking away okay. But now I'm emotionally messed up. No. If you know your value, you know what you bring to the table, be confident about it, but you can also be humble about it. And you don't have to settle. And if you don't want to settle, you have that conversation, you deal with it accordingly, and life goes on. Everything will be okay. Nothing is the end of the world until the actual end of the world comes. So what I want for my ladies is know your value, know your worth. You don't got to do it in a cocky way with a bad attitude and put yourself and everything else on a pedestal. But know what you deserve. Don't be afraid to walk away from what you feel like isn't giving you the proper value or whatever it is that you may need, and be okay with that. Just be okay with it, man.